Happy Friday, everybody. Today I have a very special guest and family member, Brian.
Hello, everybody.
Brian has introduced me to the entire self-development world. Tony Robbins, he gifted me a year and a half ago my first ticket to Unleash the Power Within in New Jersey. And that is where my life has drastically changed for the better. I remember, to be honest, at first I was like, I'm always working a couple of jobs, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go for 2 days. And then it was restaurant week, and I'm like, I'll skip day 3. Lo and behold, I was working fine dining at the time, and I didn't really love it. And after day 2, not only did I quit my job and ironically everybody cheering me on, but I signed up for Mastery University. And I think that was like a huge turning point in my life. And I remember calling you, and how lucky am I to have a mentor that's a family member who's experienced this, and you guided me in the right direction. So I just want to thank you for all these blessings that I've had in my life, because you are literally the person that helped me drastically change my life. So can you introduce yourself, Brian?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, no, Jen, that's awesome. I'm honored to have been able to do that for you. When you sign up for Mastery University, you do get an extra ticket to UPWs, and both my wife Cherish and I had signed up, so we had 2 extra tickets. And I know I had given one to our other cousin, Kelsey, who was in a pretty dark place, and then we had this, and that was, I think, a year prior. And then she wanted to go back. I know you went with her, and you were driving back and forth the hour and a half to get there. And, it was interesting. And I was a little worried about it with the driving back and forth. And I'm like, because I know the environment, you're so immersed in it that you don't want to leave. And at the end of the day, you sure don't want to drive an hour and a half.
At 12:30 at night, we were like skipping and jumping, and like, it was crazy.
Right. And then getting up at like 6 in the morning to go back and do it again. It's a crazy environment. That was like when I first went, I signed up as thinking it was a business thing. The guy came to present at a networking group, and I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. I signed myself up. So I go to this thing, and I remember I had one of the guys in the business group with me, this guy, Jerry. And we said, okay, as we go in, okay, your goal is to make sure I don't spend any more money. Make sure I don't buy any of this stuff, all this stuff. And by the end of it, he had signed up for Life Mastery, and I had signed up for Business Mastery. And we were talking about trying to not spend, it was like $750 for a ticket, whatever. We were like, don't buy the books, don't do that. And we each spent like $5,000 or something. That was just nuts. But
best $10,000 ever spent. Just kidding.
Oh, totally best, yeah. And within 45 minutes into the seminar, I was like, oh man, I so wish I brought my wife. So obviously I couldn't just call her up and say, hey, come over. Plus, we have twin girls, and it was 6 years ago now. So
Happy birthday!
And it's their birthday today, so they're turning 12 today. So they would have been like 6 at the time, and it was like a crazy weekend, and she was just going nuts. And I'm off dancing and coming home all pumped up and all that. Now, for me, it was only a 20-minute drive home, so that wasn't too bad. But so after this whole thing, there was one of the things Tony says at the end of the seminar is, don't go home and be all preachy. Don't try to change people. Don't this, don't that. So I go home with all of that in mind, and I decided to skip day 4, and we went to go see a movie. I'm like, I just want to take my family to a movie. It's been an amazing 3 days. And we go to see Inside Out, which I'm sure you've seen, Jen, is like the most introspective view of your psychology and psychiatry masked as a kid.
I was just talking about this with Paz last night. It's so funny. Everything keeps circulating.
Yeah. So we go to see this, and it's just like reinforcing everything. Well, we go to park. Cherish is driving. Or no, I was driving because she got out the passenger side, and I don't even know if she tapped the car next to us or not, but if it was very light. And the lady looks at her and rolls down the window, starts yelling at her, and I'm like, don't worry. I said, it's nothing, a little clear. I just wiped. There was nothing. There was no damage or anything. And as we walk off, I said to Cherish, what was the big deal? Even if it was like you know, even if you did scratch your car, it's not like it would have been enough for an insurance claim. You just wipe it, you know, no big deal. And her response was, well, not everyone can be all Tony Robbins like you.
Oh,
and
I got like, that big time.
Yeah, I was like, all right, this has to happen.
It happens.
So we go home, get the kids to bed and all that. And I said, all right, now I got to tell you what this is all about, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I started talking about it, and she just kind of gets this look on her face, and she's like, are you kidding me? Now, mind you, let me back up a sec. You know the story, but not everyone watching does. So how I went to this event was my mother had been sick for like 10 months, and she passed away in February. And then I wound up at this event in July. So it was just like this whole weird serendipity kind of thing. So then that was who, you know, when we got to Basket Brigade, that was why I founded the Basket Brigade in her honor. And as I'm telling Cherish, you know, kind of what I went through and the experiences and all that, and how I wanted to send her to one, she just like glazes over and she's like, I can't believe this. She's like, and she reaches on the nightstand and she picks up this book. And it was a book that one of our daughters was in tutoring. So she was in the library with her tutor, and Cherish and my other daughter would wander the library, the kids section, because they were, you know, 6. And in the kids section, completely misplaced, was this book by James Van Praagh, who was the producer of the Ghost Whisperer show, because he's the guy that like talks to spirits. And it was called Unfinished Business: What the Dead Have to Teach You About Living. And everything that she was reading in this book was all the same stuff that I was learning at this. And it was just like, the book was completely misplaced, out of place, but was it? Or was it my mom putting it there? Was it my mom sending me to this Tony Robbins event? You know, it was, all of which was pushing us in this direction, because Cherish and I had spent so much time trying to get my mom better over those 10, 11 months that we'd really kind of lost ourselves in the process. And this was her trying to get us to reset ourselves. You know, it was really weird how it all kind of came together and just made sense, you know?
I always think of my dream, and I thought of my dream again when you said that, because one of the first dreams I had with your mom, who was one of my favorite people on the entire planet, no one could ever even compare to her, was her and I dancing. It was almost like backstage somewhere, and she was so happy. And I didn't see the music or hear the music. I just know that we were like dancing, and it makes sense now. Because I think that was part of it all.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely her. I mean, I don't know what anybody believes about From the Beyond or anything like that, but then just recently we went to a seminar with James Van Praagh, and I tried my darndest to figure out like if he was just like a snake oil salesman, where he was just reading people and trying to like play their emotions and stuff. But there was stuff that happened there that could not be explained. I mean, it was like amazing to see. It truly was.
The stuff that a lot of stories on that.
That's crazy. Hi, Ricardo.
So, Brian, I know I want to first dive into a little bit of your journey in the Basket Brigade and all of your incredible success with that.
Sure. So yeah, as part of the UPW, so as I said, so February, my mom passed away. And before she passed away back in that November, we wound up just through a weird circumstance having an extra turkey. And we were going to bring my mom, you know, a plate of Thanksgiving food. And we wound up with this extra turkey. So, you know, we said, well, you know, we had this epiphany that on Thanksgiving, the doctors and nurses at that hospital don't get a break. They're there, you know. So we decided to make a complete Thanksgiving dinner on Thanksgiving, bring it down to her floor at the hospital, spread it out in the family lounge. And then after we got her plate, we invited all the doctors and nurses on the floor to come have Thanksgiving dinner. So, you know, we got yelled at because she was not supposed to be eating, but we knew in our heart that it was her last Thanksgiving. We wanted to make sure that she had her meal. So, you know, we did that. We drive home from that. Now, mind you, the hospital she was at was like amazing. University of Chicago, thumbs up. I mean, just amazing hospital. And but it was depending on Chicago traffic, anywhere from an hour to a 3-hour drive. I mean, it could literally take us 3 hours to get home some afternoons. So, we get there. It wasn't a busy day this day, but we get home, and on the way home, our daughter Lindsay says, wow, we should do something like that every year. And that was November. And then in February, when she passed away, we hadn't really thought much more of it. But then at the end in July at the Tony Robbins seminar, when he started talking about the basket brigade, it clicked and said, that's the something we should do every year. So I went home in July thinking about this. I told my friend Cherish, I told my friend Eric, and we approached our church and said, hey, can you get us, the basement? We didn't have any money, we didn't have anything. So once I got the place for the distribution, then I said, okay, I went to my lawyers and they got me my nonprofit for free. They donated it, and they got me a nonprofit status in 2 weeks, which is like unheard of. Because Ricardo, who's watching, I think it took him a year and a half or something like that for his basket brigade down in Texas. But so 2 weeks later, we were ready to go. Now we're into August, September, and we got to figure out what to do by November. So, we just arbitrarily, Tony, when he started it, had 2 families. We decided, let's do 100. We didn't know what that meant, but, we were going to do 100. So, we worked, we figured it out. We got a couple more people involved, and wound up having the money for 195 families the first year. We have vans going everywhere to pick up food, and we get 16 inches of snow, a blizzard.
Of course you do.
Exactly. We get to the church that morning setting up, and all of a sudden my wife's calling me from Walmart. The credit card's not working. Like, what do you mean it's not working? Well, they said it's a new account and they can't take it, blah, blah, blah. Oh. So I go to Walmart in a blizzard, and she's like, you got to bring cash. So I am going to stop at a bank, and all of a sudden I went, oh, it's 8:30 in the morning on a Saturday. There's no banks open. So I'm just annoyed. I get to Walmart. I'm just annoyed. She sees me. I came in the wrong entrance. So she's at this end of Walmart. Walking down, she can see the steam coming off of me. And she's like, calm down. It's not their fault. I'm like, and it totally was their fault. But so I have to give them my personal credit card. There was a gift card from Thrivent that they called in and wound up having to cancel. I had to call that back because Walmart tried running it too many times and all that. Then finally get this all sorted out, and they have to literally ring everything up one at a time. Boing, boing, 195 bags.
Oh my gosh.
Boing, getting all this stuff rung up. Finally, we had 2 or 3 people there with pickup trucks waiting. And finally they're like, okay, take these, go to the church. We left one guy with the turkeys. He had the truck. So they're boing, boing, bringing all these up.
You're so funny.
Finally, we get back, and we didn't know how any of this was going to work. Any of this stuff. We get back to the church, and there is over 100 people there. And we were like, oh, wow. It was like amazing. It worked. It all came together. And everybody was happy to go out in that blizzard and deliver Thanksgiving meals. It was just crazy. It was absolutely awesome. So that was the first year. And then the second year, we outgrew that church very quickly. So we had another church offer us some space. We went there the next year, and we had, we upped it to 263. Then the next year, we outgrew that church. So we had to go to the Park District, and we did, we set a goal for 500 and did 763. And then we ran out of parking at that place. So then high school offered us some space, and we set a goal for 1,000. We said, hey, we did 763 last year. We could do 1,000. So we did 1,300 that year. And then last year, we set and achieved the goal for 2,000 families. So that's 10,000 people.
That is remarkable.
Thank you.
And I have a question.
It's kind of right now.
I have a question on, because I saw a little bit behind the scenes, like how you run the business. Is that all, did someone give you that outline, or is that part of the brigade standard, or did you come up with all those tools?
No, it's pretty much on your own.
Wow.
You've got Tony Robbins himself, then you've got the foundation, then you've got the brigade. They're 3 separate entities, and there's not a whole lot interaction between them. So every one of the brigades runs differently. We've tried kind of pooling together some of the different brigades to get ideas and stuff. Again, my friend Ricardo, who's watching in Texas, they did 500 last year. So, he's at the point we hit when we hit that tipping point where now you're not able, after 500-ish, you're not able to like run around and pick everything up in your vans anymore. Now is when you start to need, like, for the 2000 we just did, we had 2 semi trucks parked overnight with the refrigerated trucks, one with pies, one with turkeys. Then we had another semi truck come to drop off all the dried goods, and we had a big giant bread truck to drop off all the rolls. So that's not anymore that you can go pick up in your vans. So it's a whole different tier of how to run everything. And you need a crew for your Friday night for setup and your Saturday for the actual assembly line and deliveries and stuff like that. So a lot of it's trial and error. And that was one of the things that we realized this year. So our space was a little tight this year. We were at Taft Middle School. But being tight was okay because we learned. And that was the problem, was every year so far, we grew, we moved, we grew, we moved, we grew, we moved, we grew, we moved. So we weren't able to take what we learned and apply it to the next year.
Wow.
So now this year, the school district U46 is so behind us, they want us back. So we said, yes, let's do it back at Taft, because now we know the layout, we know the system, we know where we can improve, we know where we can make it smoother. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Now, obviously, the pandemic is throwing a big question mark around the whole thing. We don't know if we're able to have that many people.
I did see you're already moving into action, though, with the brigade, how to light people up. Can you share a little bit about that?
It's tough right now because with everybody on lockdown, I mean, we can't expect businesses that were donors to be available right now. So it's going to kind of push everything back. We wanted to start fundraising earlier this year, like April, but obviously April was this. So if everything's cleared up June, July, then we can start hitting the ground fundraising, all that. But it's going to be a whole new year this year because we may still be on social distancing guidelines. So we may not be able to have the big assembly line. We may have to come up with some other way. So I'm going to be doing soon. I want to get the board together and come up with a plan, what we are going to do for that, because, every part of it's impactful, but the most impactful is taking that box and handing it to a family in need. So if we're still on social distancing, okay, well, you can put it on the porch and the doorbell, but you're still not getting that physically handing it to somebody. But then it also impacts, there's no way, my board of, 15, 20 people can package 2,000 boxes. We need the 700 volunteers.
Wow. Yeah. That's a good point. I never thought of that part. Yeah.
So it's a whole different animal this year that we're going to be facing. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but one of the things I want to do, which, hey, board members, if you're watching, this is my plan. We're going to do something like this with like kind of a Zoom call, probably recorded ahead of time, and put a message out to all of our fans, all of our volunteers and everything on our Facebook page and all that, just to let them know. I mean, we're here. we want to make sure we can do this. There's definitely going to be a need this year, probably more so than any previous years. So, but we got to figure out how to make that happen. And the first step of that is fundraising. So, that's where we're going to need a lot of help, and we're going to put that plea out to our fans and followers on Facebook and all that of, hey, we need help this year fundraising. Because for us to
play a bigger role in that, I'd love to be a part of it.
Cool.
So Brian, aside from Basket Brigade, you also run Allegria. How is everything going? Have you put a lot online? I know you've also suffered an injury this past year that kind of set you back to work remotely, that maybe possibly would be a benefit to you being able to work from home more. Is there any advice, or can you tell us a little bit more about that?
No, I mean, you got to get creative. I mean, right now there's still opportunities. So right when the pandemic happened, the Printing Industries of America and the Midwest regional version of that petitioned the governor and got printing and mailing listed as an essential service. So we are still able to operate, but our customers simply are not putting things out. I mean, we had literally in one weekend when the shutdown orders were first starting to happen, we lost $30,000 worth of business because we had jobs in queue for conventions that were now canceled. So, we would have like, a $9,000 job that was a program book that was 3/4 finished. We were ready to deliver this thing. All we had to do was still bind it up. So, they're still, paying for that portion of it, but, they just had to cancel the entire thing. We had other, then trade shows that just never happened. So, I mean, literally in one 3-day block, we lost $30,000 in business. Now you've got like, hair salons. Well, they don't need business cards right now because no one's coming in. People are not mailing because it's not, on the flip side of that, the people who are mailing it is effective. I mean, we had a florist who we did an Easter mailer for, and he hasn't done Easter mailers. The only thing he really does mailers for is typically Mother's Day. But he wanted to do his Easter mailer because he's like, I got to get something in the door. He had by 5 times his best Easter ever. 5 times better than any Easter in his books. And he's been in business 50 years. So, part of that was obviously that people couldn't get together, so they're more apt to send a plant to mom, But the other part of it was the mailing. And what we do with mailing, and he does this program as well, we combine the direct mail with online follow. Like if you ever shop for, a new mouse, well, all of a sudden ads for that mouse are following you everywhere you go on Google and Facebook and everything else. So we tie that into his campaigns. He's got the new thing from the post office where you actually get an email alert every day of everything coming in your mailbox that day. And our mailers show up as a big, bright, full, colorful one right up at the top with a clickable link. So, he has that. We've got, tracking phone numbers, all this other stuff. So he knows exactly what's coming from the campaign. And like I said, 5 times better Easter. Then he said, okay, our next holiday coming up, Administrative Professions Day, which is the 22nd, just passed. But he's like, he's like, talk me into buying a list of businesses. I said, I'm not going to, because I don't think that's effective because none of the businesses are open, So I said, what we could do is market to those business owners at their home address. So we bought a list of business owners at their home address who make more than $150,000 a year, because what that does is it weeds out the 1 and 2 person operations. So somebody making $150,000 a year may potentially have an administrative assistant that he wants to send flowers to, whether she's at the office or at home, So that was how we targeted that, So there are ways to get your message out. And now with the new Illinois order, they added a few more essential businesses. So, like retail businesses can now take orders by phone or computer and do curbside pickup. So, reaching out to them. So you got to get creative in how you're marketing and who you're marketing to, because like I said, doing a mailer to business owners for Administrative Professionals Days makes sense, but not at their business because they may not get that mail till June when they go back in, but marketing them at home, everybody's home, they're getting their mail. So, you got to just get creative about it. And you do have to absolutely tie it in with the digital component because that's, where everybody is right now, a lot more than they were when they were working.
Wow, that's really interesting. And it makes a lot of sense. So Brian, do you print, so you print business cards, mail, do you print any like say I wanted to do like a hat or a shirt? Do you do any of that?
Sure. Yeah, that's called promotion.
We need to talk.
Yep. Okay.
Sweet. All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? We have a busy day today with cleaning out refrigerators and all that jazz. Is there anything you want to add to help people during this time that you found benefit?
No, I would say I just want to follow up. With you, it's great. You can see anybody who knows you can see a difference in you in the last year and a half. And the struggles you went through with being at Tony Robbins' event and having to get Chris back living in California for 3 months. That was a Herculean effort that would have broke a lot of people. And it didn't break you. You came out the other side stronger. So, you know, and that's Chris's condition was not like, you know, triggered by the fact that he went to California. This would have happened at some point to him regardless. So you could have been in New York and it happened to him, and it may have had a whole different effect on you had you not been through all the personal growth that you've been through. So
it was definitely what we talked about in the beginning, just like a lineup of events that happened, I think, to protect me and everybody. Even the job I had before I left for LA, you know, just everything that happened during that time, I think just helped me get through, you know, some challenging times.
Right. So to me, my gratitude is always in helping others. I mean, you know that about me. That's where I love to be. So I'm honored to talk with you. I'm honored that you wanted me to be your last mentor. So that means a great deal to me. And I'm thrilled with the growth.
My first and my last. Just my last on here.
Right. So thank you.
I love you, Brian. Thank you.
I love you too.
Definitely changed my life.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope you have an amazing Friday. And if you want to know more, I'm going to post a few things about what Brian does with helping Feed America. Is Feed America and Basket Brigade in the same category, or?
No, Feeding America is a whole separate thing that Tony does with where he's trying to feed 2 billion people over the next 2 years, 3 years, or whatever it was. But yeah, no, that's a different thing. So, and Basket Brigade, like I said, is really, think of Basket Brigade as almost a franchise where we all kind of use the same name, except Ricardo. He does Baskets for Good. But so, you know, Basket Brigade is kind of the name that kind of should be recognized as part of the Tony world. We all report our numbers back to the foundation so they can say Basket Brigades across the world have fed, you know, 3 million people this year or whatever. Yeah. So we do report that back to them, but we are all kind of independent entities. So Feeding America is another like giant organization that does a lot of good. But Tony is like at his events, he'll do specific fundraising for Feeding America. But yeah, that doesn't disseminate down to any of the brigades or anything like that.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right, guys. Well, I got to run. We got to run. We have busy people trying to make a difference. I love you, Brian, so much. And I'm going to talk. Are you around this weekend? I'd love to talk more. Okay.
Am I around? Where am I going to be?
I'm just saying. I know you're busy.
None of us can go anywhere.
You know what? I'm going to call you later to wish the girls a happy birthday and then just ask you a few questions.
Yep. Are you going to be on a Zoom call tomorrow?
Of course.
For their birthday? Yeah. Okay.
Of course. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
All right. Bye.